Welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast, where we dive into the secrets of success in the industry. Today, I have a treat for you, a dynamic duo of two of the most successful agents in Northeast Florida. Last July, I had the pleasure of speaking with Heather Strazinsky and Danielle Rodriguez, but unfortunately, we were hit with some technical difficulties in a very hot room. I'll add that in there too. But I am not one to be deterred. And today, I'm excited to sit down with Heather and Danielle again to really dig into their business and uncover the golden nuggets of knowledge that they have made them so successful. Recently, they have taken the plunge and formed their own brokerage, River2Ocean, and I can't wait to hear more about it. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming the dynamic duo of River2Ocean Realty, Heather Strazinsky and Danielle Rodriguez.
You.
All right, ladies, I am excited for you and this new endeavor here breaking out. We talked a little bit about it in July in that room where we lost power and everything. And so, but being the second show, we're going to dive into really a lot of golden nuggets. I hope any of the listeners, as I always put on, I'm looking to inspire someone who's looking to get into real estate, or maybe they've been in real estate and they're just looking for inspiration. And hopefully something that you guys talk about today, some of the things that you're doing inspires them or gives them something to implement in their 23 game plan. Mm-hmm. So I will attest, we were talking about Chat GPT before the show. So what I did for the questions today is, and actually my intro, the intro was a little bit different than I normally do because I actually took my regular intro and I put it in Chat GPT and said, hey, rewrite this. And I think with some descriptive words, mm-hmm. and it rewrote it for me. So that was actually Chat GPT wrote that intro for me. And then I actually just asked it a couple basic questions and to come up with the questions, what are typical things that real estate agents aren't asked? Successful real estates aren't asked that those who are not as successful want to know, right? So it actually created a bunch of questions for me for that.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, so we'll see how this leads here. Yeah, I'm really curious on here. So, what we'll do is you go in whatever order, because some of these questions, each of you can answer or make your comment on. So, the first question that we have is, what inspired you to get into real estate, and what has kept you motivated now through the years? Heather, go ahead.
So, my story is very different from others. I had another business. I just moved here, didn't know anyone, and I needed to meet other people for that business. And someone mentioned real estate, and I quickly fell in love with real estate, stopped doing the other business, and focused solely on real estate.
Now, if I remember, that was multi-level marketing.
Mm-hmm, correct.
So having that background, and I had Sarah Rothstein on the show last week, and we were, talking about how her previous career, spending a lot of time on the phones was what her previous career was with a pharmaceutical company, but more from almost like a telemarketing position. How did the multi-level marketing, kind of give you some confidence, or, how do you use that today when you're in the real estate business?
It's a lot, very much the same. It's about relationships, phone calls, follow-up. That's the key to real estate. It's just, I think it's hard to hear the word no, but you got to get over it. It's not about you. It's about them. And it's not necessarily no forever. It's no right now.
Right. It's not personal.
It's not,
no one's buying a house every day.
Exactly.
Or buying a piece of jewelry. You may do that every day.
And, and you can call them and they can say no. And then you can follow up with them 2 months later and they bought a house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because someone called them at the right time.
Yep. Exactly.
So it's all about follow up and key.
Danielle, what keeps you motivated?
Keeps me motivated. No, I've been in sales practically my whole career. And, I had a business before this as well, but I had physical challenges. So I had to switch gears. And like Heather, somebody had mentioned real estate. And I knew Heather and I knew she needed help. And I was kind of helping a little bit, making phone calls. And I don't know, I just got into it and fell in love with it and love the relationships that you make with people. And that's what kind of motivates us. I think for both of us, we just really sincerely love helping.
Do you find it to be the process or that closing when the title company hands you the check?
Well, I think at closing, when title hands you the check, just validates everything that you went through, right? Because not every deal is the same. It's different every time. And I think it's the challenge that we love. I think we both thrive when we're under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a rush.
Which is a big part of, I think a lot of non-real estate, or if you haven't done enough transactions yet in real estate, from the lending side, from the real estate agent side, everyone is different.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have some sort of bump, however bump that might be, whether it's a repair or a lending issue that, maybe they got to change loan products or whatever, that happens on a regular basis. And you have to deal with those challenges. And that's why you get paid what you get paid. Right. All right. What does AI say next? Can you tell us a bit about your journey in forming the River2Ocean? What inspired the name and logo?
The name. Wow, the name. We had a hard time with the name. We didn't want something everybody else had. In fact, this wasn't the name we originally wanted. This probably came out of nowhere. And we're like, oh, yes, that's it. But we wanted something that enveloped power, strength, knowledge, branding, all of that. And it took us 7-8 weeks. I think of
pounding down different ideas.
And I mean, being on the phone at 10 o'clock at night with each other. Oh, I saw this. Okay, let's do this. Let's look up this.
Mm-hmm.
And then just between the two, because there is two of us.
Right.
And we are very good with, if one of us says no, okay, let's move on.
Right.
Having two people like a name is not easy. And we're just very, very different, but we're very the same with our ideals and what we want. So that took some timing. And when we both liked River2Ocean, and, I think Danielle said it best when she explained, what it encompassed. I mean, really, Florida, St. John's,
right.
River2Ocean.
Yeah, no, it was creative. I saw it. I was like, oh, brilliant. It really fits in. And then, so you kind of you think a little bit about, I was just thinking about what you were saying, your thought process and banging the ideas back and forth is you think about these big corporations who actually have to, use that logo in so many different areas than you will, but how's that logo going to look, right?
Right.
You got the name, but then, you got to make it like Coca-Cola. We all know with this, the script of the letters,
exactly.
How are you going to put that River2Ocean logo together and make it look and all the different styles that you can put it in, and all the different formats it's going to be on, whether it's your business card or on your website or all the other thousands of things it's going to be. So it does take it over, but I love the name. I think it's perfect for the region.
Name.
No, it is. So Heather, Danielle, I'm going to go to you on this as Heather answered that one. You guys had to sit down and obviously talk about, the business, not only a business plan of what you guys have been doing for, last years as real estate agents. That part's not going to really change, but what is going to set River2Ocean apart? What is your unique niche?
Interesting. Curse that AI system.
Right.
What is our niche? Well, I think with everything that we do, when we got together or how we got together, how we started our team and now the brokerage, one word to really describe it all is organic. We didn't start it to say, okay, now we're stepping back and we're going to hire all these people and start this. That's not how it's going to evolve or how we want it to evolve, right? Even with our team, I think, we didn't really go out and advertise and try to recruit people. They kind of came to us. And we're starting to see that happen also with the brokerage. So I think that's the direction that we usually go with. If it happens organically, we try to do the right things, make the right choices and steps, and, things just kind of evolve from there.
You guys you were working with a great brokerage. You've worked with several great brokerages in town. What, is, I think every real estate agent, goes through their mind at one time or another. I know a lot of new agents, someone's never been in the real estate before, what is a broker really doing for me type thing. And so you guys got enough experience, you got enough at bats now. What really was your motivation to, we can just do this on our own. We want to break away and create our own identity.
I mean, we have worked for several great brokerages. We were just talking about that today. We wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for them, because we've taken bits and pieces from every single one of them. And that's, I think, our new avenue is we're kind of taking pieces from everyone and adding it all together, the best parts. So one of the big things is, we were with a phenomenal brokerage where that the brokers were always there. always there for us. No matter when we called, they were always there.
Right.
And we want to do that. And then we were with another brokerage that they were so business minded that it was so great because it helped leverage the business. So we want to bring that part into it also. That was just a wonderful, different, eye-opening experience, each one that we've gone to. So taking the best of everything we've learned and trying to put it into one.
I like that because it actually leads into the next question the AI created. It was kind of interesting. Well, I'm slightly going to reword it just understandably. Taking from, again, everyone takes from where whether it was a past career, education, and in this case, you're already several years in real estate. So what are some different strategies that you're taking from the past, and whether you're putting your own spin on it or not, but going to move forward with your River to Ocean?
We've got some good ones. Communication. What do we say? Yesterday, we were talking 99% of problems can be solved by communication.
Right.
And that's one of the biggest problems in the real estate industry, I think, is communication.
Danielle, would you agree that because we were talking about challenges a few minutes ago, I mean, it's not actually the obstacle or, whatever that thing is. It's actually just people calling up and saying, hey, it's off the track. But this is what we're going to do to get it back on the track. But what I find is the biggest complaint, especially real estate agents to the loan officer world, is they didn't call and tell us. And then all of a sudden, we're a day before closing and we're not clear to close yet because there was a challenge that they've been working on for 2 weeks and we never knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really, I think, what sets us apart because, somebody can call you with a problem and you can be working on it for hours and hours, the hardest you are, but they have no idea.
Right.
They have no idea you're working on it. They don't know if you've forgotten about them. They don't know if they got, pushed to the side. So we find they really appreciate clients just getting a heads up. Like, if we need to make a call to the lender and they're waiting for us to respond, hey guys, we've put in a call. We're still waiting. We'll keep you updated. Maybe an hour or two goes by. Guys, just letting you know, we haven't forgotten about you. We're still waiting on the lender. We're going to get back to you as soon as we can. And they just appreciate knowing because, your mind can go in all kinds of directions and you can start thinking all kinds of things. So we try to really keep them abreast and let them know, hey, even though we don't have the answer yet, we are still working on this and we have a
Yeah. Our transactions, take weeks.
Right.
And sometimes when there's silence, generally when there's silence, I think we're all good. Because I know in my process, the underwriter will immediately say, hey, this is suspended. You need to fix it. So I know as soon as that happens, it's coming back to me. So when they aren't talking to me, that means everything's good and we're rolling forward. But the client, the buyer, is going through this period of time, or even the seller. Is the loan, this buyer good? We, and you just got to give them those little touches through the process. So can you share any particular or memorable challenge, particularly memorable or challenging experience you've had in your careers as real estate agents? Give us a good story.
I think our best story, which shows who we are, it's our best story by far, is our St. Augustine girl. I just think that right there tells us who we are. So we had a client who needed to sell. We encouraged her not to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And
what was the reason?
We just knew that if she sold, she was going to end up being homeless. The money was going to be gone.
She owned the house outright.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, she wouldn't have the same opportunities if she sold it.
She had gotten a good deal on it, but 6 months later, she reached back out to us and we had visited the house, and the house was in 10 times worse shape. Such a disarray. There was mental issues going on, behavioral issues with the children, and the house was in really, really bad shape. And at this point, she was in jeopardy of the house being foreclosed on it.
Oh, no.
So what happened?
Because it was paid for. Back taxes?
Back taxes, HOA. She owed a ton of money too.
Mm-hmm.
She had burned through all her inheritance.
Oh, no.
So at this point in time, we were like, okay, it is no longer in your best interest to keep the house. Let's see what we can get for you before the house gets destroyed anymore. So we did. We did sell the house. But not only did we sell the house for her, we reduced our commission. We brought them food. We brought cages for the animals they had, and we took the animals and found them proper homes and things like that because they just could not afford to do it. So we really kind of immersed ourselves, and we sold it for as much as we possibly could, especially in the state it was in. But then we also talked about, where do you want this money to go? Do you want it to go to your account? Is there someone else who can manage it for you and give you a certain, we delved into it. And I think that's our best story because we put our all into that.
And, well, now you got my curiosity. So where did the money go?
So the money went to the brother's account, actually. So it got switched over to the brother's account. And then we don't know what happened afterwards. We tried to help her find a rental.
Right.
But again, it was a situation, it was her 3 kids?
I think it was 3 kids and a grandmother.
And the grandmother, yes.
And a boyfriend.
But, that just, goes, the average real estate agent, obviously, we know average person would not, they would have just sold the money and not cared. But yeah, you had a project there, and some agents would have just ran the other way.
Yeah. The one time, checking out the house, and we were opening, drawers and just checking everything out. And we looked in the pantry and we realized there was no food in the pantry or the fridge. There was very, very little. So the next trip that we were going to make down there, we stopped over $200 worth of food.
Wow.
And brought there for
Bless
the
you.
kids, and just broke our heart.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on from that one. Since we spoke in July last time, obviously the market's changed. Interest rates have continued to go up. Actually, they've gone up and then came back down, and we've been kind of where we're at probably for the last 30, 60 days or so. But how do you stay up to date on the industry trends and changes?
Go ahead, since I told that story.
I think we just always stick to the basic. Everything else just kind of falls into place. We find if we focus on helping people with what their needs are, their why is always our priority.
Well, I think that the AI was going with that question.
Right.
You guys are you're Jack's Real producers. You guys are out. I think a majority of agents, in my opinion, don't actually interact so much with other agents unless they're on the other end of a contract.
Right.
Right. Where you guys are out and about, and obviously, the great brokerages, you got both of those people running those brokerages are very involved in what they do. They're deep into the industry and how it's going in different ways. Mm-hmm. They both have different, sides that they take on, and both run successful brokerages, but they're passionate about what they do. So that's kind of spilled over to you guys in a natural way, just by showing up and being, whether it's a social or you're going to a training class and so forth. So I think we're what I want to, I like this question here, because I think I would have asked it differently than the AI did, is just, what is the importance of being engaged? And now that you guys got your own shop, you guys actually have to now plan your engagements.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I think information is key.
Mm-hmm.
We are always trying to keep on top of what's happening in the market, where it's going, apply it to our clients, and try to meet their needs at that time so that, it works for them, because it just has to work for them.
Right.
Obviously. Right. You can't push them into anything. So,
but where we've seen in the last 24 months, this thing where you couldn't even put the sign in the yard before you had offers, right? So now where things are a little more, I think they're more normal. People think we're in a crash, but here I believe in Northeast Florida, our demand is why we stay above, and obviously all the magazines are coming out saying we're one of the best places to live, especially in Florida, that type of thing. We're rated high, the greater Jacksonville area. So we have that demand. So you're back into that normalcy, but so now you're not going into those brokerages office. You are the broker.
Right.
Right. What are some things, or maybe you haven't even thought about this part, but I'm bringing it up to you here because it's only been a couple weeks now, right?
Not even.
So, that engagement, because you guys are the leadership where you were naturally just being fed that information. Not saying that was only information you were getting, but a lot of it was coming from your brokers, your interaction with the other people in the office and different things. But now, what plans do you guys have to keep that information flow going that you've walked away with?
Well, we've always been huge into education. We take way more CE hours than we need.
Mm-hmm.
And we take tons of classes that aren't even counted as CE hours.
Right.
So we're huge into education. We're huge into reading articles, talking to lenders, finding out what's going on, trying to keep on top of everything. Because if there's a new program out, we need to know about the new program. Our clients need to know about the new program.
Mm-hmm.
If there's new limits out, the VA jumbo loan limits and
Right.
things like that, we need to know about this so we can update them. So it's constant communication with our lenders, actually, I think that was yesterday. We were unable to make it. St. Johns County has a site where it talks about all the
building.
Yes, the building site, all the meetings they have. We make that a priority to try to attend those so we know what is going on in our county before everybody else does, hopefully.
And we have always been. It wasn't recently.
Well, that's why you're successful.
Yeah.
That's why you're successful. That's what I'm pulling out of you. Because the agents that you're watching right now, I mean, listen to what Heather just said and what Danielle's explaining, the importance of you've got the schedule. Yeah, you got to be proactive. There's so much out there. You're not going to get to it all, but you got to keep moving forward in your education all the time and grabbing those classes when you can. If you got a gap in your schedule, maybe you don't have a listing appointment this week or a showing because things have kind of settled down a little bit to know, hey, now's the time to sharpen my sword. I need to go, get that done.
Exactly.
Yep. Probably talked about this a little bit in the last show. And again, it's kind of the theme of one of the reasons that I do the show for you guys. I obviously want to showcase your intelligence, experience, and so forth. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys probably on a regular basis are asked by people who are not in real estate, who are thinking about getting into real estate. So if you had that new person, whether they're 22 years old graduating from college right now, or 40 years old in a possible career change, what couple of things advice would you tell them besides passing the test? If they are licensed, what are a couple of things that you would tell them they need to do?
I mean, I think as new agents, the number one thing that they don't understand is you choose the brokerage. They're all pretty much usually going to want you. There are a few that only will use top producers and things, but you choose the brokerage. Who's going to best meet your needs? I think that's the number one thing that agents are like, oh, they want me. Oh, they want me. Oh, I did too.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. And then I come home from another one. Oh, I'm so excited. And then I'm like, oh, everyone was like, yes, I would love you to join our, brokerage, but you just don't realize that at first. You choose. What's the difference that they can give to you that another one can't?
Right. Danielle, to feed off of that, obviously, and I've mentioned on the show numerous times, all these brokers will tell you, and every agent that I've had on from all the different brokerages, right? They all tell me, the education and the technology is, they have great, training and technology. But what really do they need to do to really, feed off of what Heather is saying to find out?
Shadow.
Yes.
Shadow an agent. Shadow somebody who's successful and see what the day-to-day is like, because taking the class, taking the course, passing the test, even joining a brokerage isn't going to give you a real picture of what the day-to-day is in being an agent.
Well, when it comes to the training, and you guys have been with a couple different brokerages, good ones, and I mean, was it those angles that those brokers took were a little different? So you guys benefited because both of them were good and were giving you different angles of this industry. But just to say they have good training, you mentioned shadow. How important is it to really, they probably should pick up the phone and call a couple of agents from that brokerage, assuming they met the broker, maybe hey, I think I might be able to, I can get along with this person, but to actually really dig in, because I know most agents, and you guys we're the same way. They liked you and you're like, oh, okay, I'll sign up. But now that you're more savvy,
right?
To look back and say, this is what to actually get on the phone with some of the agents, like you said, shadow them, go get a cup of coffee, whatever, with them and actually ask them some real detailed questions. I mean, what kind of questions would you ask a successful broker or a successful agent with one of these brokers, say you worked with, to find out more about that broker?
What to ask about the broker? I think
if you were sitting down with the godliest realtor in town and you were a new agent and that you wanted to work for the broker of that or were thinking about working for the broker that person is under, what questions would you ask that person?
What kind of training do they offer? And to go back to your question, like, what is our niche? I think, and although we never actually discussed it, but I'm pretty sure she's on the same page, we took a piece from every brokerage. And it's funny because, the broker is going to train, or what I've seen, and I haven't been with every brokerage. Okay. Right. But from what I've seen, the broker will focus on what the broker deems necessary as far as training goes. for the whole brokerage. And that was my experience in the last 2 brokerages that I was with.
Right.
Heather and I have always had specific questions and needs and wants as far as training and growing and stuff like that. So I'm guessing what River2Ocean is going to look like is if we have those agents and they're looking for and have specific needs, we will try to tailor the training and the help to what they're looking for and what's good for them. Not every brokerage is like that.
Right. Well, in how they're doing the training, because we all learn differently, right? If they're a total, online thing, I'm not going there.
Right.
That's me personally. I'm older. So I these webinars and so forth.
It's hard.
Well, yeah, you get distracted. You're on social media. Someone calls. I mean, I hear,
and they can be dated.
But it could be dated.
Old.
I hear from the boards, they've mentioned certain brokerages directly to me because I go down to St. John's and do some training, and we do the hybrid thing, and they know certain brokerages. So I say I'm old and I'd get distracted, but even the youngest, these agents in their 20s, they're getting up and walking away.
Right.
I mean, they're supposed to be on their camera so they can get credit for the CE class. But, if you don't learn that way, I mean, some people, maybe they can stay focused and actually learn that way. Great. But, to dig in is, how are they training?
Right.
What are they training about?
Yep.
Are they bringing in different people? Especially your first brokerage, Howard brings in different people and spices it up a little bit. You got to have that change and different opinion.
Right.
All right. So you mentioned briefly there, at least I thought I heard you say, Heather, what is the vision for River2Ocean as far as, are you guys looking to eventually recruit and become large? Is just what's your overall, let's say 23, 24 picture of it versus, 25 and on?
We are, but slowly. We just started on the 28th. So we're still trying to get our foothold in. Now we do already have someone in our brokerage, and we do have a couple other people that want to join our brokerage, but we are definitely want to go slow and not get ahead of ourselves.
It's a marathon.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's a really good analogy. It's a marathon, and you don't want ego to get in the way of, I want to be bigger and better and best. And I don't think that's all what we're looking for. We're happy to be a boutique brokerage, or if times change and circumstances change and we end up growing large, great. Also, we don't have a cap right now. We're just kind of waiting to see how everything goes, get the best knowledge we can, and provide the best service and knowledge to those who do decide to join us.
Oh, I apologize. It's just in Heather's camera, so I get it there. Okay, I like that better.
That one, Danielle?
Yeah, Danielle. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Everyone does that to us all the time.
Well, I've had some really great agents that are, they're different spots. Ones are recruiting, like, they want to, multiples of agents, like, quickly. And, but there's some great, if you're going to stay in production, which obviously I assume that is your plan, to go and take on, 30 agents over the course of the year and ramp them up. And then, are you bringing on real newbies, or you got experienced agents that are successful other ways that can kind of just come in and actually add to the program,
And each requires something different, because we've learned that from having our team. Each requires something different. Newbies require a lot of time, a lot of hand-holding. Experienced agents want to be left alone.
Right.
And they want help with what they want to learn and what need to know.
Right.
And that's something we want to try to accommodate, is everyone with everything. But that's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a learning curve. And that's why we're not jumping in full force and just going headstrong and recruiting. We're not quite ready for that yet.
Okay. I'm a experienced agent. I join your team, or thinking about joining your team. You're willing to take me on. Let's put it that way. John's got, I forget when John started real estate. He's got about 6 or 7 years. Brooks, him and
More
Brittany.
than that.
Has it been that long?
I'm pretty sure more than that. Maybe. I don't know.
So,
I would
but
say
obviously,
about-
like, Howard's got decades downstairs and so forth. And then he's got agents that got decades that are around him. So I'm looking into you guys now. Obviously, you guys have been very successful in the time that you've been, but you don't have, a decade of experience being a real estate agent. What kind of confidence are you going to give me that when I do have a challenge, you either, obviously, maybe you know the answer, but you know where to get the answer?
Well, we both have different levels. I'm going on 10 years.
Right.
And
Has it been that long? This girl, she looks like she's 19. And I always, I didn't go back and look at the bio from the last show to get
I'll
there.
just stick with 19. Danielle and I have both two different perspectives, but it's both of us have want and a need for knowledge and growth and yearning. And we want to do this and we want to do everything to the best of our ability. So it's great having both of us at two different aspects. I mean, Danielle's not new. I'm not new, but I've got 10 years. You have almost 5?
Going on 5 this year.
Yeah. So when someone comes in, it's easy for, I think, maybe Danielle more to remember her first day. I mean, I still remember my first day too. You're nervous as all heck. Everybody remembers their first day. You're sitting there like, now what?
Right.
But just kind of remembering our feelings is kind of, that's what we want to be able to help them with. If you're new, you don't know what you're doing, how to do it, what to get started, there's 500 things going through your head. If you're experienced, there's still 500 things going through your head because they're doing this, they're doing this, they're doing this, and they're successful, and you want to do everything. But helping them just calm down, create their niche, and focus on that, and bring in speakers that can tell them more about that, whether it be social media. I mean, we don't know. We're not end all and be all of social media. I mean, she's a TikTok girl. I'm a Facebook girl. I mean, I don't like TikTok. She loves TikTok. She's not really fond of Facebook. I love Facebook. So just try to share from both of us, I think, is what we have to offer.
Well, I think, like anyone, anyone looking at a new company, right? They want to know what's behind there. So I could just see that being not a challenge, but something definitely you want to be prepared for to answer. Because like you said, you need to be interviewing, the agent needs to be interviewing the broker.
Yes.
And to be asking you that question. What if you don't know something, right? They're probably not going to ask Howard that question because he's got gray in his beard and they don't ask those questions.
Well, I can't imagine every broker knows everything.
Right. No, 100%.
Yeah.
No one does.
It's good to acknowledge that.
Right.
But have somebody on in the back burner that does know that information.
Well, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, showing up, being involved, having these other top people. Like I said, you've worked for 2 great brokerages, assuming you still have conversations with them or can call them and say, hey, I got this real difficult one. Just like an agent from Clay County may call the Ponte Vedra agent and say, hey, I got a listing out there. I'm not normally out there. What's the best way to, price this out, or whatever, that advice for those people.
We've done that all the time, and we've created some great relationships with some fabulous agents.
I was going to say, and there's probably, I can think off the top of my head about 10 different brokers that have said, call us with anything. We're here for you. Ask us anything. We're here to help. Right. So,
wow, that's since they knew you created your own.
Yes.
The River2Ocean. That is really
they've reached out.
That is really awesome.
This is a community that if you allow it to embrace you, it will embrace you.
No, I totally agree.
Great people out there.
I totally agree. I think, again, 100, I think this is 116th episode. Yeah. Talking to, over 100 different agents. I mean, that is one of the commonality. I've said it numerous times is collaboration. You're not going to get anywhere by thinking they're competition. You're just going to burn your own fuel. To be out there and collaborate. And when you're out there out front and you're positive, you're helping other people. What's the rising tide raises all boats, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So this is why, I don't know why I put a second up, but this was the different question I asked AI and it created 10 more questions. So
oh boy.
Let's see. So again, talking about, whether it's a new agent or an agent maybe has hit their lid, or maybe this is an agent who's looking and listening to this or knows you guys already, and is just finding out that you guys got your own brokerage and just love being around you guys. What qualities or skills do you believe are essential in success as a real estate agent?
There's several.
Motivation.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
So Danielle, expand on that motivation. When I hear you say that, this is my reaction. You definitely, that's 100%. It's gotta be a self-motivation. You got to get yourself up into the gym. Exactly. I mean, you can't, there's no clock you're checking in on. If you don't show up, they may call you and say, hey, you okay? But they're not going to go pick you up.
The thing is, and we've experienced this, we could have all the training in the world. We can give you all of the apps and tools and everything you need to be successful. We can hand you everything, but we can't make you do it.
Right.
So,
or, the desire to do it. In the other word I've commonly brought up on the show is is consistency. And just to give that little bit of advice, I don't even know if that's one of the other questions on here might be, but you could get discouraged.
Yes.
I mean, especially like you said, someone says no to you, you're doing some calls, or maybe you're knocking on doors and they don't want to talk to you, is to not take it personally. You just have to smile and walk away and take that next step. I mean, how, and Danielle, to expand on what you were just, that motivation, how important is to, be able to take that punch in the face, so to speak. You may have a half a second, but you got to get back up and motivate yourself to move on.
One of my favorite phrases, like I said, I used to be a sales manager. So one of my biggest things was persistence overcomes resistance.
Persistence overcomes resistance. I love it.
If you just keep going and keep going, it will happen.
Right.
But you have to persist. You have to do it.
Right.
It's that type of industry. If that's not your personality, if that's not the type of agent, I mean, anybody can be any kind of agent they want to be, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have to be persistent, but you may not have as much as the next person.
Right.
So
there's some people, they fall into a niche, or maybe they grab their neighbor, and it happens to them quickly that they're like, oh, I wasn't persistent for that long, but for 90 days there I was. And all of a sudden it started. Where others, it may take years.
Right. Right.
And having that, and to continue to stay motivated. Mm-hmm. That was her word. Mm-hmm. What's your skill? What was the skill or quality?
Quality. My big thing is with agents, which we kind of see, is also humility. Are you willing to continue to learn? Are you willing to acknowledge that you're not the end all be all, that when you do become awesome, that you're not the best? There's always someone better, always. And I do find every now and then we'll run across one that sometimes difficult. I've been in the business for 30 years, and this is how it's done. I'm like, not anymore. But it's not. I acknowledge that, and that's wonderful, but it's not anymore.
It's always changing.
That's the thing.
It's a fluid business.
Right.
Right. Interest rates,
procedures, rules.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be willing to learn.
Someone has been in the business 30 years. If they did it right, they kept their database, right? So they have all these names. That's the power, right? That's why all these, you go on social media and you're learning, and they're all talking about these funnels, and everyone they want your email address, because now they've got this huge email address, because they know statistically they drop on enough people. There's enough people who want to buy a house, sell a house, or get a loan, or whatever it is. So a person of 30 years, if they kept their database and have continued to religiously do the things that, over the years, they'll run circles around anyone trying to do social media this day, because they already have it.
They have their database.
They have it, yeah. But very few, 1 out of a million, have actually done that and, started to fade. So that they're trying to do the stuff that the newer agents are trying to do, as far as generating leads, whether it's on social media or whatever. So yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, because that person, I don't know if you could find one. I mean, Ryan Serhan hasn't even been doing real estate for 30 years. So
my mentor, my original mentor when I first started, is still my mentor. I can call her anytime. This woman knows rules. She's the one who taught me, you need to know the rules, and you need to know this contract inside and out before you ever do anything. And that has stuck with me. I know the contract inside and out, and we've had people try to challenge us. I'm like, no. We know this contract, and my mentor has been in it forever. And she is a fabulous, fabulous lady, but she doesn't do things the same way I do them, different generations. But you can always learn from each other.
Hey folks, this episode was produced by Streamline Media, the #1 media company for helping brands generate content that converts. I knew I wanted to start a podcast to reach more people and bring value to the world, but I did not have the time or the knowledge. Streamline Media became my secret weapon to building my show. They handle all my back-end work, production, and strategies to keep my show going strong. If you're in the real estate business and looking to make content that generates more leads and brings in more revenue, check out the Streamline Media link in the show notes and discover how partnering up can supercharge your path to real estate excellence. Tip a little bit on this, and both of you, if you can make comment on it. This came to mind when we were talking about, people do it differently. how important, because I'm reading it or seeing it, whether it's on, the social media motivation or listening to different people speak or in the different books, finding the broker who's going to help you if you don't already know. I know John's big on this, finding what your marketing or prospecting niche is, what that is, and how important it is to find out. You don't do things exactly. You may start off trying it because you don't know if it's going to work for you, but you have to really spend that, good bit of time up front finding what that niche is as far as prospecting.
It's been hard. I mean, it's hard at the beginning. It's hard. Everyone, because like you said, everyone does everything different. It's, you listen to this person, then this person, then this person. You've got to bring it all together and figure out what you want. I mean, we wrote our own follow-up systems because there are systems out there that says, do it this way, but we've changed them. We've tweaked them. We've added them because it doesn't work for us that way. It works for us a different way. We may do 30 days of pain, which other people don't necessarily do 30 days of pain because that's what works for us.
30 days of pain?
No, it's 30 days of pain.
Is that the name you gave it?
I mean, it's following up with a lead from certain systems for 30 days straight until they answer.
Every day.
Every day.
Is that that's just someone who contacted you with a thought of it? Where's
lead generation?
Yeah, like a lead generation. This is particularly,
on
for
your
example,
website?
Zillow.
Okay.
You pay for that lead. Work the lead because they're not cheap.
Right.
And we work that lead. We work that lead until that lead tells us stop.
Most people will call for maybe a week, 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
They move on to somebody who might be ready now.
We don't stop until they tell us to stop.
Well, I mean, in reality, that sounds like common sense. But again, it's the motivation, right? They didn't answer the phone, so now I'm getting discouraged.
Right.
So I'm not motivated anymore. But in reality, what do we know? Someone needs a TV today, they'll go out and spend a TV. It's not a huge thing. You can. It's amazing the TVs over. Yeah. Anyway, but they're going to buy a car. Most people don't this morning go, you know what? I need a new car. So I'm going to go. No, they start looking.
Right.
They start evaluating, looking, which one's going to best fit them. Are you big on this safety? Are you big on that? Or what's more important to you? And they're going to spend some time. That might only be a week. It could be 6 weeks or more because maybe they're looking for a car, but they're not financially ready. It's the same thing for the house, right? Hey, rent's getting up, but we only got 4 more months on the lease. And, so they go on the site, start looking, but as they get closer to that 4 months, their urgency picks up, right?
We've said to our team, like Heather said earlier, when they say no, it's not no, they don't want to buy a house. It's no, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
And we always love using the example of our one client who we dripped on.
Yep.
2 years, texted, called, never spoke,
never responded to us, never
responded to any text message or anything. 2 years later, calls us up one day. Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I've been getting your stuff and we're ready to go. So
if those who have not listened to my podcast with Marky Lemons Ryhall, who's going to be the keynote speaker at RE Bar Camp, Kim Knapp. So that, you see my reel on that?
Yeah. I love her.
She corrected me because I called it Rebar.
I heard that one. I love her though.
Yeah.
She's so awesome.
Yes. I thank God she corrected. She says, actually, that reel blew up. But where was I going with my thought there? I actually totally lost.
I can't jump in your head, so I'm really
I know. What was the last thing you said?
Gosh. What our client reached out to us after 2 years.
Yeah, so Marky Lemons, Ryhall, she talks about on the podcast what she has done, and she's one of those people. She actually originally was a mortgage loan officer in her young 20s, and then went into real estate. But how her goal is to each day to add, I want to say it's 6 or 8 names to her CRM every day. So everybody she meets, everybody that interacts on her social media that might be friends with 50 of her friends, she's adding to her CRM every day. So however she's, sending those top of mind emails, text messages, whatever those things are going out consistently. And I was like, that is such a gem, especially for a new agent.
Right.
If your goal is, hey, I got to add 6 people. You add 6 people, it's like $2,800 a year. And, you're constantly, your database is just growing. And then just all those people, like I said, they could be on there for 2 years, never talk to you.
Right.
But they didn't unsubscribe from your email yet.
They didn't.
So they're still alive.
It's just our consistency.
Yes.
There's constant consistency. And we get told no. We've had people say stop. I'm like, but you gave me your name, your email, your phone number. You answered all the questions and you're telling me stop. Okay. But it happens.
Yes. I mean, did they change their mind?
They changed their mind.
We don't know what maybe they're looking to buy a house with a significant other, and that significant other's not there anymore.
Exactly.
So that email now is reminding them of that, and that they're upset about something in their life, not you. Yeah.
The big thing is we tell everybody, and how I kind of live my life is you have no idea what's going on in someone else's life.
Yes.
You don't know.
100%. This, I think, is probably one of the most important questions, especially for new agents. It makes a difference of whether or not the only reason whether or not you get off to a good start or not, but how do you guys stay organized and manage your time effectively? Google. Are you a time blocker? Do you literally like, hey, I'm going to work out. I know some people I'm going to work out at 6:00 in the morning. They put that on their calendar, even though that's what they do every day, what they put on their calendar.
We do.
Yeah.
We try to put everything on the calendar because if we don't, number one, we'll forget.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, because, we're not just scheduling ourselves at times, we're scheduling both of our times. So we always pretty much have to know where each other is. And if it's on the calendar, we really make it a point to do it. And we'll put things on like, mastermind, this day at this time, or, calling our leads, calling the database and stuff. We put that on the calendar and time block that. And because it will force us to do it. We're creatures of habit and we're very organized. So, if it's there and we're very self-motivated, we don't really need somebody to kind of like rah behind us. If it's there, we'll do it.
Would you agree? And I know I'm susceptible to this. I mean, I listening to Ed Milet comes to mind, but other books I've either listened to and read over the years, and especially now, the whole point of like time blocking is what we're talking about, and how important it is that if you don't actually set that block of time, all of a sudden you find reasons to, because it's something maybe you don't like the calls, right? It's not ideal. You're not totally comfortable with it. So you find excuses to do something else, play on social media, go run an errand, whatever it may be, and you don't get it done. And all of a sudden, the next thing you realize, you're not being consistent in the money-making activities, which is the prospecting.
Right.
Yeah.
It could have dire consequences. I mean, we work our business 2 months ahead of time. And let's say you just, we don't feel like doing it that week or the next week. Then all of a sudden you have the month of April and you have no closings.
All right, so I want to know who calls who and says, let's just get a glass of wine.
Oh, we do that all the time. Honestly, okay, so there's another problem, and this is our problem. We are too motivated.
Yeah.
So when we take time off, we were talking about this yesterday. We have got to start taking 1 day off a week because we are burning the candle at both ends, and we have been for years.
Mm-hmm.
And we feel guilty if we take a day off. And then it's like, oh, but we need to be doing this, and we need to be calling this, and we need to be making this. And so it gets bad. And there are times when one of us will need a mental health break, and we'll call the other one up and we're like, okay, this can wait. We're moving this to this day, and we're going out to lunch. And a lot of times when we're together, we purposely go out to lunch, take an hour break, sit there, just chatter, eat our meal. Okay, we took a moment. We're breathing. Now we're going to return the 50 phone calls we got while we were eating our 1 hour lunch and go back to it. It's agents who are extremely motivated. That is the downfall, feeling guilty.
And I think we're pretty good at, I can tell when she's kind of reaching that limit. She can tell when I'm reaching that limit.
Well, I get angry and she knows that.
And if she's not stopping herself, I'll be like, put the phone down.
Right.
Go away, go on vacation or do something, or she'll go away for the weekend. And I said, you better not answer your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do not answer your phone for anything. So we kind of look out for each other in that aspect too.
Well, I think that, I mean, the two of you together and forming, and you've been together for several years now, and to have that person that you can trust is going to answer the phone because you want to go on a 3-day cruise with your family and you're not going to be able to pick up the phone,
right?
That she's got the phone and things are going to be taken care of. I mean, that is a breath of fresh air, really.
We have each other's phone numbers on our voicemail. We're like, if you don't get me and you need immediate help, please call my business partner at blah, blah, blah. That's how like connected we are. And we get the question all the time from other agents. How are you still together? Because like partnerships, they have a very high rate of breaking up in the first few years.
Mm-hmm.
And we have so many agents that come to us. How do you do it? And I think our big thing is we talk every single day. I mean, every single day, whether we're seeing each other that day or not, we talk every single day. We start our morning that way. And there's been times where we have had to say, like, I'm going to hang up the phone before I say something. I mean, we've done it before, but then we come back around. We check on each other. We regroup. I mean, it's like having a sister. You're not always going to get along, but you have to be able to, vent.
But the foundation is there.
Right.
Communication, trust, and respect. If you don't have those three, then...
Well, I think you have to go into the relationship with, you're right.
It is.
To understand, you have to have the trust and the faith in that other person.
Right.
And of course, that other person has to understand that the other person has the trust and faith in you, that you actually need to fulfill that thing. Otherwise, the trust and the faith is lost.
Right.
And therefore you break up. Right. And to go into it with that mindset that there's a sharing part of this. One person is going to be really good at something than the other person, and I think we talked about that back in July, who's good at what, and understand those things and let that person do that, because that's their strength, what they're passionate about, what they love to do. And what they do is acceptable to you. Don't criticize that other person. But, I think the word greed comes to my mind, there's other terms that can be used. But when you have that relationship and you start to get, I'm doing most of the work, or you start thinking you're doing everything, not realizing that other person is actually allowing you to do, maybe Heather's great at the prospecting part, but Heather's, you're doing the back end stuff so that she can continue to do her prospecting because she's really good at that. And it's, you're floating the boat from the backside,
and that's why
you have to have that.
Communication is key.
We do that.
And we'll say, and we don't have to. I don't have to tell her that, we have tasks every day in our CRM. So we open it up each day and there are X amount of people that we need to follow up with and contact in some way, shape, or form. And, there could be 30 of them and now there's 15. And Heather will be like, hey, I just ran through some of them. And I can certainly see that when I open it up. But it's important for us to let each other know, I'm not sitting at home drinking tea, just sitting on the couch.
Right.
I'm here working.
Watching Oprah.
Exactly. But I think we know each other well enough now to know Heather's not sitting on the couch, drinking a cup of coffee, just, lounging, doing nothing. And I think she knows the same of me. In some way, no matter where we are, what we're doing some kind of work. And that's why we almost have to pull back a little bit, because no matter where we are, what we're doing some kind of work. And it's great for our business and for us, but at the same time, maybe not so much for our brain.
Well, I mean, in the, go back to what you're saying, that how do the people stay together? And both of you have a conscious thing of knowing, I can't let Danielle down. I can't let Heather down. You got to get up and go. She's expecting me to be there. I've got to be there. She covered me for the last vacation. I've got to cover her here. I think a lot of people get a little selfish with that part. It's kind of, this is actually something I'm very, it hits a chord with me. I see a lot of people unwilling to give, but I'm going to tell you that when you're around the successful people, they are giving all the time. They give more than they get, but they're getting more than you're getting because they're giving so much. And it's always, if you go into it with like, well, what's in it for me type attitude versus, I'm going to build my equity up here by giving, giving some of my time, giving some of my expertise, whatever it may be. But I think obviously with you guys is you have a conscious thing that I don't want to let the other person down, just like any true team has. I mean,
it is.
And I think it's easier for us because of the stage that we're in. Like Heather's kids are older, so she'll take, weekends or go away for a week or something like that. I have young kids in school, pets, stuff like that. I can't go away for big blocks of time, but I have to make dinner. plan up dinner. I have to, drive kids to school. And, so I'm taking little bits of time here and there. And she's taking bigger blocks. So she covers me when I need to do that stuff. And I cover her when she needs to. So both of our needs are met.
Yeah.
And
everything you're doing is you're thinking about the other person.
Exactly.
Right.
Respect. It's respect.
So that's the answer to those people who wonder why you guys have been together so long.
Yeah, we get that. I mean, honestly, we get that all the time. And I think people think we don't fight. Oh, we do disagree and we do argue about things. And the funny thing is we have, I think, raw honesty at times. Like we'll sit there and she'll go like, do you still want to be partners with me? Yeah. And it's like, we'll have raw honesty time where I'm like,
you need a little checkup. We make sure she's still.
and I look at her, I'm like, why? Are you unhappy? Or what are we doing? And we literally have raw honesty time. Like, well, we need to tweak this or we need to check in here and we just need to make sure that you're still feeling good. And we'll tweak, we'll check things because there'll be certain things that will start bothering you and you don't know unless someone says something. And then we'll hash through it and go like, okay, well, this is why we're doing it this way. Or, maybe we should change. Or she knows what's important to me. I know what's important to her. And there are some times where she'll be just like, I don't care how you do it because I don't care.
I mean, to be able to call the other person up and say, hey, you ticked me off when you upset me because of that. And it's not the end of the world. You're just expressing how you felt. I remember when I was at Quicken, the sales manager always said, always go to the customer and say, this is how I feel. Because no one can challenge how you feel.
Right.
And don't challenge someone how they feel. This is how you made them feel. They're telling you that. So hopefully the next time you handle it a little differently, or you ask them, so, well, how would you suggest I handle that so I don't upset you?
Right.
And it's an honest conversation. It doesn't mean you dislike each other.
Right.
There's no two people that are together that not pissed each other off at one time or another.
And I think that's impossible if you say you have.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we had clients asking us if we were married. Literally, we had to start introducing each other as my business partner, not my partner, because we literally had clients thinking we were married.
Yeah.
We're together so often.
I'm going to jump down a few questions here. I think we may have talked about this a little bit in July, but I think it's good to refresh, especially as a team. Because I imagine, when you're working with a buyer or seller, they know you're a team. Both of you, I imagine, are interacting at one another. Obviously, I've had like the Glenn team. They're a couple, so they do a lot of things together, showing up. But you guys, give them that confidence as the team. What are some we used to use the word tactics that you may use when you do have a little more of that difficult client, and I say that, and I know probably 3 names just popped into your head.
Yeah.
Just in case you less difficult buyers or sellers, whatever their demands are, whatever. How as a team, and now as River2Ocean, what are some things that you guys have internally and maybe you don't actually have steps written down, but because you're a team and you're together all the time, what do you guys do together to handle those more difficult clients?
Go ahead.
So I think after, X amount of years, we just remove ego. Like I said, their why is our priority. If one gravitates towards Heather a little more, well, then they feel more comfortable with Heather. Great. I will do what I can, in the background or support. If they gravitate towards me, same thing. She'll do minimal, but we both have our roles. So they have to interact with both of us at some point. But if it's like more communication, aspect, whoever they're more comfortable in hearing from, that's who kind of takes lead. It doesn't often happen, but, in a couple instances, when I say that, I mean, we've only had maybe 1 or 2 where it was
blatant,
obvious.
They didn't want to talk to Heather.
Right.
Didn't like her tone.
It's blatant, one or the other. We've had, I think, 2 that they've gravitated towards one and really did not want to speak to the other one.
Well,
okay.
In our discussion about team and working together, and even these, somewhat solo agents, you really, even if you didn't want to join a full, totally invested team like you guys, to have an agent that you trust, maybe you're friends with in and outside of working real estate, that you can trust, because sometimes that second voice comes in. With you guys, they have a choice, right? The couple teams like the Glenn team, and I'm thinking John Richardson and the Richardson group, him and Andrea, they've formed So they find out that we talked about that. They go to, you're just like a kid would, right? Do they go to mommy or they go to daddy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So to have that other agent just to say, hey, if I fall off the face of the earth, they're going to be there. Now, if they start communicating with them, okay, all right, assuming they're in the transaction, they've already found the house, but you're working through the transaction, they're still working with you, but they just feel more comfortable talking to them. I always felt in sales to have that be able to, turn over the customer to that other personality, to that other face, when you have a client who is not saying no to you, but they're not actually moving forward quite yet, to close a sale, or maybe there are some issues and they're shying away from talking to you, not telling you everything, but they'll tell her everything.
Well, yeah, it always happens.
Yeah. And there's no limit to communication. Okay. If you're going to be a good communicator with your client, you need to communicate everything. And maybe it means organizing your thoughts, your process, writing it down. Because from day one, when we meet clients, and we always try to, our together clients, we always meet together if it's possible. We tell them, Danielle will handle these steps and this process. And then when you go under contract, Heather's going to handle this portion of it. So they already know up front. And then we introduce our showing agent. If, we want to get you in as soon as possible. If neither one of us can, we will hand you over to our showing agent who will open the door for you. You will never miss an opportunity.
Right.
So nothing is a surprise to them. They're not like, oh, are they pointing me off on somebody? Or what, Danielle doesn't want to work with me anymore?
Right.
They know the process.
You're setting the expectations up front. Yeah.
It's important.
Wow, I got so many questions, so many good questions. This AI was pretty good. What role does networking play in your business, and how do you go about building your network?
Have fun.
We were talking about that earlier today. Networking can take over your life. It really can, because there are so many networking events and so many networking opportunities. So you got to be careful there. But when you're sometimes starting, you're like, oh, well, why do I need to meet this person? That doesn't get me business, or talk to that. It actually does help you, because we have won deals because the agent has worked with us before and they've told their client that they are going to get this done. They don't miss a beat. They are a great communicator, and their client may have picked us over another offer that they had because they know that about us. We've got some wonderful agents, all different brokerages, all different types we get together for dinner with, you go to events with and stuff, and we all collaborate together and share ideas. And when you find those people, it changes your business.
Right. That kind of goes into something I was talking with Sarah Rusting and I've talked on several podcasts about, we are in the real estate industry. You are, we say 24/7, because part of you going out to dinner is not only you enjoy, want to get to know that other person, but it's also that relationship building and that network you're building to build the trust. You actually spent time, broke bread together and doing it. So yeah, technically the IRS could say you could write that off.
Right.
But that's all part of networking. So if you want to become you're a socialite and you want to become a real estate agent, it all plays into it to be out there and meeting and shaking hands. It's the power is in how many people right? Or especially how many people like and trust you. Would you agree?
Hopefully everyone.
Here's some, and this is I'm reading this question here. Now that you guys are your own brokerage, not that you weren't doing it before, because real estate agents, you're 1099. I mean, it is your own business. The brokerages before were, had the logos and stuff like that, but they weren't really, there was no big financial marketing spend on different things that you're doing. You took that out of your own pocket. But when you go into opening your own brokerage, what are some of the things the question is, how do you handle financial aspects of the business, such as budgeting and forecasting? And I think this is a question not only for a brokerage, but any agent, when, you do have times that are better than others. So over the years, what have you guys learned as far as, that financial aspects of the business, such as budgeting and forecasting?
You got to do it. We were just talking about that again. You got to have several accounts set aside. I've got my account, then I've got my tax account. So you take money out of each sale, set aside for your taxes. And then we were just talking literally about opening up a third together account for marketing and taking portions out of every deal and putting it into that marketing account and trying to figure out how much we need Because not only do you have your lead generation, your signs, your lock boxes, your dues, anything you run, any ads you run. I mean, we've done Facebook ads, client events. That stuff you can spend quite a bit of money, and before you know it, you've spent more than you actually made that year.
Right.
So you got to be very careful. We've taken a hard look. One of our brokerages has really taught us take a hard look at what you're pushing out. And we've cut our expenses a lot. Again, ego gets in there.
Right.
Oh, I've been sending this out for 3 years, but can I really dictate anything that came from that? No, I can't.
Right. You're talking about like a marketing, maybe a mailer or something like that?
Yes, mailer magazines and things like that. But you don't want to give up those addresses that only your magazine goes to. But when you look back for it, can you really...
Or can you send this on something different to all those addresses?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's all these...
Change the costs.
Yeah.
But you have to budget it because, again, what if there's a month where you don't have a closing? You may have closings every month, but closings get pushed back. Closings get changed. I mean, we had 3 of our closings in December got changed to January or March, all the way pushed back. I mean, it happens.
Yes. Yeah.
So you can't...
Especially with new construction. If you got new construction, it ain't closing on time.
And we do half of our business, I would say, is probably new construction, based on where we live. But I'm sorry, I do not count that money ever until that check is in my hand.
Right.
We've seen it happen too many times.
I think one of the, going on and I spent a lot of the Christmas break going on and studying what other real estate professionals, what other materials are putting out for social media wise. There's a couple ladies I came across with that are in South Florida that have big YouTube followings and so forth. And they're just agents that are pushing the knowledge that they have out there. And that was one of I caught on one of them was, talking about part of the success of being a real estate agent. Yes, you have to prospect. Number one, prospecting. But if you're not doing like what you said, the budgeting and a finance plan, you're not putting the money aside for taxes. I think Marky Lemon Rihal mentioned that, how many agents after just a short period of time are out because all of a sudden they get the tax bill.
And they can't pay it.
Yeah, because they're so used to the W-2 employer and they're pulling it out and you don't worry about it. And hopefully you get some back because they took too much out. But now you have to actually take that out yourself or you're going to get this big bill at the end of the year and put yourself in a bad situation. So, how important is what we're talking about, the financing and the planning, to actually sit down with some experienced people that maybe, we have failed, and then can be able to teach you right from the get-go to get you off to a great start. Again, going back to that new agent, sitting down with people who have done it before, and that should be one of the questions.
I think it's an overlooked question. It's a very overlooked
Do you know what
question.
I asked AI?
What?
I asked one of these last series of questions were questions that aren't not often asked to successful agents by agents that are not as successful.
Well, you know why? Because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't
True.
experienced it, so you wouldn't even know that. Like when I first started, I didn't realize how many fees were involved. Nobody tells you that,
just from being licensed and being part of the board and
licensed and MLS and, and like everything. It's just, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be great if somebody sat you down and
Right.
told you these things, but not everybody has that person.
Well, that goes back to our question, what do you ask the broker, right?
Right.
When you're interviewing them, are they going to sit you down to that finance? Is there someone,
Right.
because I guarantee you can find, there's people around town, because I've heard them talk about it, that are like really focused on this stuff.
Yes.
Or when they have that tax class that maybe you go to that,
Right.
class because you're going to pick up some nuggets or go to a few of them to pick up different nuggets, but because you could quickly be out of the business because you're going to put yourself in a hole very quickly because those checks come in and they're big, but then they don't always come in. And then the tax man got to get his cut and then the fee guy. Yeah.
And then just keeping track of every single dollar that goes out.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
All right. We're at about an hour, 15 minutes here. So I'm going to ask this last formal question.
Never.
This is actually number 10 from the AI, which is it's a general question. I think both of you could probably make a couple comments on. What are some common mistakes you see less successful agents make, and how can they be avoided?
I feel like that's a hard one because I feel like as a beginning agent, we all make a ton of mistakes.
Well, true, but you're now, and you're looking back, you see some of those agents, or maybe, what was the mistake that because I know we talked about this in July, because I always ask it.
Mm-hmm.
What is a mistake? Obviously today, you know better, but you didn't know then.
One of my big one is trying to be who everybody else is. I think that's a mistake for every agent.
Oh, that's good.
You're not who Melissa Ricks is, or Shonda is, or Nikki is, or Ben is. You're not them. You're you. And I made that mistake. I'm like, I want to do what she's doing. I want to do what he's doing. And you get so sometimes hyper-focused on it, you start to feel bad, and your business starts to suffer, not because you're not good at your business, because you're just starting. You're not going to be here.
Yeah.
You need to give it the time. And like you said, there are some agents who start out in their first year, maybe they sold, 25 million or something their first year. That's not the norm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think agents just need to stop comparing themselves, stop being so down on themselves. That's the big thing. Be who you are. Learn. Take all the time in the world to learn. Never stop learning. Never stop going to classes. Never stop researching things. And that's a mistake that I did. I research the heck out of things now that I have to stop. I research too many things now.
Right.
But in the beginning it's like you focus on one hyper thing that's like maybe you're missing this, and this until you really do find your thing. So stop comparing yourself.
That's going to be a great reel right there. Yeah, what would you say?
Going in a different direction. I think when you first get your license, you get so excited and you just want to jump in and take a safety class from MLS. Go there, take their safety course, because, you're putting yourself in situations that, may not for you. So know what to look for and procedures and how to do it, and just, be aware. And sometimes your brain doesn't even go there to think, like, I could be putting myself in a situation that isn't good. So
a couple episodes ago, I had Tracy Hawkins. I want to say she's from the middle part of the country. Anyway, she was on actually Marky Lemons Ryhall's podcast, because I wanted to listen to a couple of her podcasts before having her on my show. And Tracy Hawkins was a guest, and she is Tracy, the safety lady.
Okay.
She used to be a real estate agent. Her sister still is a real estate agent, but she just found this thing on personal safety. And I will tell you, a friend of mine works for Gavin DeBecker, wrote the book, The Gift of Fear. It is a long book. I did the Audible because I knew I had to listen to it before, because that's her favorite book before the show. So I put it on Audible. It's like 12 hours long. But I will tell you this, when you start listening to what he's saying in the book, it's one of those things where you're like, I can't wait to get back in the car because I want to listen to the next whatever amount of minutes. And it goes back to the safety thing. And everyone says, oh, well, yeah, I know. But no, humans are the only ones that will get a sense. Not really. No. They look like nice people.
Mm-hmm.
That's not right. When our initial intuition, and he talks about it through the book. If you have not listened, Gift of Fear, either reading it or going to Audible. But I would also look up Tracy Hawkins and her materials. She teaches classes and keynote speaker internationally as well. Hopefully, maybe we get her in next year for the RE Bar Camp. But I think it's underlooked until something happens, right? We are like, oh, no, it's cool here. Nothing's happened here in a while.
Peculiar situations where, we luckily did listen to that inner voice. This isn't, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
And
100%.
It's a real thing, and it's something that people, you get so excited and you just want to go out there and you're literally meeting strangers in an empty house.
Right. And you're so anxious to get going that someone says, hey, they call you up, can you show me this house? And you, oh my God, I got it.
Right.
And you want to tell your broker, and I'm going to run right out there. And I think the app is called Forewarn, from what I understand.
Oh, I have a couple of
Flagler actually has it for their people, but NEFAR in St. John's don't. But you can, put in their driver's license and so. And we should not feel, one of the things we talked about in that discussion with Tracy was, you should, if you don't even know this person, to ask them, hey, can you take a picture of your driver's license and send it over to one? Hey, so when you walk up the house, you go, oh yeah, that looks like that person.
Right.
But you've got to do some due diligence. It's here until something tragic happens.
Right.
And
that's why we even showings whether they're hers, mine, or are together,
Mhm.
they're on the calendar. So I know exactly where she is at all times. And
Mhm.
she doesn't show up. I'm like,
Right.
she was here.
Tracy actually has this whole thing about, about the listings and whether even educating for sale by owners to show value into them. Hey, just some certain things that you do around the house. I thought was quite interesting, like not having your schedule on the wall. Like when your kids are playing
we go
sports or
over
whatever,
that
take
all
that
the
stuff
time.
away, or
Yep.
any valuables, or
Yeah.
if you got a expensive painting or something, you want to take that away because someone could be casing the house.
You don't.
Yeah, just little things with their names on their backpacks.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you just told everybody who your children's names are. And
Right.
if they're somebody who's, just walking around, now they're going to try to follow, and where are they getting out of? What's their routine? We go through that with
The
all our
calendar is
sellers.
we
That's
tell
good.
people all the time, take
Oh,
that
take
down.
that
You're
down.
telling them exactly where you are and when.
Right. 100%.
Scary.
I can't. I think I asked this questions in July, but I'm going to ask it again because we're going to get some good reels from it. I've been going back. I'll pass on the favorite thing in Florida thing. We'll just go right to: is it more important who you know or what you know? And I want you to give a solid. I want you to look right in the camera because I know you're going to give a great answer. Give you 10 seconds. Think of that answer. Is it more important who you know or what you know, and why?
It's so hard.
I'm going to say what you know. I think because, knowledge is key. Knowledge is everything. And especially with your client, that is the best way to achieve any kind of confidence in yourself. And whether you're in it for a year or you're in it for 10 years. I mean, there are people walking around out there now in the business for years and years and years. And I'm schooling them, 5 years in.
Right.
So I think what you know is really going to set you aside.
Well, I'm generally a who you know answer on that. I like that from the standpoint. It made me think that when you're looking for the who, you're like, you want to find key people and interact with them and network with them. But in the meantime, you can be on YouTube, you could be reading a book, you could be going to a class where you might meet the who.
Right.
Right.
Well, and it's a combination because the who you
Exactly.
know can introduce you to someone, but the what you know is what's going to retain them.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because if you can get introduced to the $1 million client who buys $1 million home every other week or whatever, but if they don't think you're knowledgeable, they're not staying with you. It does not matter.
You can meet Ryan Serhant today, and it's a great who.
Right.
But if Ryan's talking to you in a language of his experience and all this stuff, let's just take marketing and the social media campaign that he has. If you don't have some sort of foundation in funnels and all the different things, or have been watching him and what he's doing, and he starts talking to you, it could sound like someone speaking a totally different language.
It is. Who you know gets you in the door. What you know retains.
Yeah. I like it. Ladies, is there anything you want to add about our River to Ocean? I don't know why. I don't know where I got Coast to River from. I swear to God, I feel like an idiot because I'm like, I thought I saw Coast to Ocean, or Coast to River. River to Ocean.
Yeah,
River to Ocean, really great because, the lifestyle thing, the unique thing people don't realize is, especially, Florida, generally people like to go boating or beaching or whatever, is you have lakes, you've got the river, you want to go tubing, you want to, the different boating areas you can go to. We just had this really unique thing that I can't think of another place. Maybe out in Seattle, maybe they might have something like that.
Well, it's basically the area that we service, right?
Yeah.
I mean, from, North Florida all the way down to, the St. John's River goes to Orlando, right? I mean, that's kind of like,
it's
the
like
whole
River
area
to
that
Ocean.
we encompass, everything in between.
No, it was a great name, and look forward to your success.
Thank
We're
you.
excited.
All right. Thanks, ladies.
Thanks.